Legend of Zelda, the Windwaker.
Yep.
Is it the Windwaker, or is it just the
It is
Legend
the
of Zelda?
Windwaker.
No,
Yeah.
I thought it was Windwaker.
No, he's the.
The Legend of Zelda, the Windwaker.
Yes,
I
he's
don't
the Waker
remember.
of Winds.
Yeah.
He's the Waker of Winds.
That's true.
Anyway.
He's got a talking boat.
That came out.
No, Wind Waker is my personal favorite Zelda game, and it's interesting because for many years I was alone, or I felt like I was alone in that belief. Like most people said, Ocarina or Link to the Past, but as time has gone on and it got the HD re-release, more and more people awesomely have had the opportunity to kind of discover that game and sort of realize once they got past that it didn't have the art style that they originally thought they wanted. It took Zelda in a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. There was almost like universal backlash. Like, you're turning Zelda into a cartoon. And
Yeah.
just people were so
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
But once you played it, it was like, oh my god, this
You
is so
turned
good.
Zelda into a cartoon.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that's
a-
a great
it's-
thing.
yes.
Well, it
Well,
feels
it's-
really timeless, like it still holds up.
Yeah. So there was initial backlash because a year or two prior, Nintendo had shown a demo,
Yeah.
a tech demo for a new Legend of Zelda game that presented the more like adult, realistic
It
version
looked
of
more
Link
like
battling Ganon.
Yeah.
And people thought that was the game they were going to get for GameCube. And then when Nintendo, pulled the cloth off the project, it was like, what is
Yeah.
this? This is not what we were promised.
I watched that demo reel like 100 times.
Yeah.
He does like the spin. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from the very minute I saw Toon Link, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like totally on board. I thought it was great.
And this was like, I feel like this was the most accurate representation of like what I imagined when I played the original Legend of Zelda. Like what I imagined this
yeah.
would look like. Like this was a cartoon. This wasn't like a super serious dark fantasy thing. So seeing just how expressive Link's eyes were and the cool little effects like enemies burst into clouds and
Yes, and the beautiful cell shading design
yeah,
of that.
totally. And like you said, like you have the King of Red Lions as you're talking boat bud. And there's Tingles in it, who's this weird little
When
dude.
when you play Wind Waker, the first several hours are pretty scripted, and it totally plays out like an animated film. And you can totally see Miyamoto seizing his opportunity to finally like create his like sort of Disney animated film that he's wanted to all these years.
Yeah, and it does a really smart, about halfway through the game, it does this really smart thing of how it ties into, previous Zelda games. And I guess, I don't know, can we spoil things?
Yeah,
Yes.
at this
But
point.
Full spoilers.
Yeah, full spoilers, but just like
15.
hitting that moment where you realize like, oh, this is a sequel to Ocarina of Time, and this is referencing places and events in that game.
Like that this happy, cheerful world is a post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And everything's underwater, and you're like, ooh, like there's actually, it is beneath the surface,
Ah.
but there is like kind of a darker storyline there than you might think at first glance. A lot of people sort of criticize Wind Waker for the Triforce quest at the end. I still find that criticism sort of strange because I didn't want that game to end. So the way that I was playing it is once I sort of sensed or realized that I was getting close to the end of the game, I was going from island to island. Like, you have this grid, it was 7 by 7, and that's how I played that game. Like, every night, okay, I'm gonna go explore 3 or 4 or 5 new islands. You roll up to an island, you never know what you're gonna find there. It could be some huge little mini dungeon, or it could be like a little mini game, and that sense of exploration was so strong and so satisfying that the Triforce quest never bothered me in the slightest because I was already kind of trying to stretch out the game as much as I could.
It definitely laid the groundwork for big open exploration games like Assassin's Creed for Black Flag.
Seriously, yeah.
If I have a criticism of Wind Waker, it's that I guess maybe I disagree a little bit. There's not quite enough to explore for me. Like you get your treasure map, and 9 times out of 10 it seems like you put your crane down and it's like, oh, I got 5 rupees.
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad I took the time to do that.
Yeah.
They could have populated it with a little bit more to do, I think.
Yeah, totally.
fair.
But they did, like taking the frame of Ocarina of Time, the Z targeting and everything, and then really expanding on it with the, sort of interesting timing-based counters and parries and ability to pick up other enemies' weapons and
That
use
was
them
really
against
cool.
them, and just how like the use of fire a lot in combat. Just really, really smart additions to the series that, and like Justin said, I think this game has withstood the test of time and aged. Visually, it's aged probably better than almost any
That's
other game of that
the
generation.
nice thing about not going with realistic graphics.
Yeah,
You know?
is that it's timeless.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Apparently did not meet Nintendo's expectations in sales. Some figures I saw put it at about half the sales of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And Nintendo blames it on the visuals. They think that the visuals were just failed to connect with a lot of the Western audience.
You know who I blame it on? You. I don't know which camera.
I know, the camera hard to see. But I think that was why they pivoted for Twilight Princess and went back to a more
Yeah, with a real
more
cool
grown-up
wolf.
Link. But Toon Link's my favorite Link. Because from The Legend of Zelda, I always think of Link as a boy. Like,
Yeah, like a little kid.
In my mind, he's
Like
a little kid. Yeah.
little child. And
Yeah.
I like that Toon Link sort of lives on, obviously through Smash, but he even got a couple of games of his own, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
the
like that.
Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks.
Which, you can take or leave those games. I don't think they're quite up to the same quality, but I like that there's sort of these two parallel paths of Zelda now, or there was for a while anyway.
Yeah. Did Minish Cap come after Wind Waker?
Yes.
I think so too.
Really?
It's another.
I thought it was before.
I believe so.
Is it before?
No, because I think that was Minish Cap also sort of had the Toon Linky look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Linky
that
look.
set the style and that they then adopted for the DS games.
Yeah, for a lot of the handheld games.
Interesting.
Yeah.